Hello and welcome to a video with me, Raindale. And today we are showcasing Dorando as our carry in this 6th episode of our MR Spotlight series. And before I begin, why Dorando? The truth is, I wasn't especially planning him for the MR Spotlight series, but in some of my videos, commenters ended up challenging me into making him, featuring him, and then making him look top tier. So I told myself, okay, eventually I'll get to that, he's not my priority. But then, on top of that, that comment challenging me ended up having the most upvotes I've ever seen on one of my videos. So I kinda got peer pressured into building him, and I've done it. So today, you'll see the results of that. And before I move forward, I just want to point out, I have recently done a collaboration with Mycedia Gaming, so if you're not subbed to his channel and you didn't see that come through, I'll link it in the description below, and you can go take a look. It was really fun. We did some arena matches, and he beat me in almost every one of them. It was glorious. So, yeah, go check that out if you haven't yet. So, as always, we'll take Dorando into arena. But first, what are his strengths that we'll be leveraging today? So let's take a look. Okay, moving on. No, I've actually made a slide with his strengths, but what I want to point out here is that he's not the best unit. He doesn't have anything definitive going for him. He has a couple stuff that are fine, but he's not a strong unit by any means. So don't go watching this thinking I absolutely must build that guy. He's insane. I'll do my best to make him look insane, but that's hard work, not the unit being strong. So, what we are actually going to be leveraging today is the fact that he has 15% pierce and strike resistance, so he can be strong against some enemies. He is, however, weak to slash, missile, and magic, which are still the most 3 common types of damage in the game. He has a little bit of lightning resist, which we can leverage, and he can do slash, missile, and strike attacks. So depending on what we want to use as his teammates, we can play with that a little bit. Then he has attacks that can blind and immobilize, so he can land the pretty nice status effects. And since he's a gunner, he can support other missile units with aimed fire and then counsel. So he has some pretty nice ways to boost his team's damage. So that's it for the unit himself. Now, let's take a look at our team comp with him. Okay, so let's take a look at our team comp, and we'll begin with Dorando, the man of the hour. And if you've seen the story, Dorando is a big, muscular man. He's really intimidating, but at heart, he's a coward. And for that reason, we will be using him primarily as a gunner. Dorando does not fight with his axe. He tries to make it so that people don't get near him because he has a crazy axe, and then he just shoots them in the back when they're not paying attention. That's what he does, and that's what he'll do in our team. So our first team comp that we'll be running is this one. Dorando has 760 attack, a little bit above 4000 HP, and 20 defense. So far so good, but his resistances are overall not great. So he's not extremely tanky with this build. He is especially weak against magic. So that's what he looks like, and 760 attack is pretty decent. We're supplementing that with Oldoa's apron, and gunners can't equip that, so that's one advantage that he would have over them, is that he has a way of gaining defense penetration. Now, you could tell me, but Raindale, do all gunners have defense penetration innately with their passives? To which I'll say, hell, what do you want me to do? I'm trying to build this unit and make him work. You're right. So he has Oldoa's TMR, so he can get some defense penetration and some capacity to deal with tanks. And we're running Viking Lore for more HP and attack, Missile Mastery for more missile damage, Counter Shot because we might get a lucky one off. All of his abilities are turned on, but you'll notice that he doesn't really use his Viking abilities much, and that's mainly because since he's so slow and he doesn't have a lot of movement, he will rarely get in range for them. Now the rest of our team is just faster, and we'll be taking the melee slots next to the opponents. In terms of Gunner, we're also leaving all of his abilities on, and the way his AI works is if left with the chance to buff, they will use Counsel and then Aimed Fire. So if you're supporting Gunner teams, you might want to turn off Counsel so that he actually uses Aimed Fire for your Gunners. In our team though, there are no other Gunners, so I am fine with him using Counsel. And then Sidewinder is a really nice move because it has piercing, so it can be used to hit several enemy targets at once. Otherwise, Leg Shot will land a interesting Immobilize, or perhaps Blackout will give us a Blind. So that's what we're looking at in terms of abilities here. So this is it. We'll also have a variation that we'll use a little bit later on, where he will be run as a monk. And this will be the exact same team, exact same slots. The only difference is we will turn his Monk job on and replace Missile Mastery with Strike Mastery. So when you see that team comp change, you'll know what happened. And again, we're leaving all of those on. He has a pretty decent AI in terms of prioritizing his buffs. For Espers, we're using Tetrasulfid for the missile attack up. It's one of the few ways to actually increase his missile attack, so we're leveraging that. And then I put Odin on him because it's a little bit of single target resistance and some man killer, which is good for any type of damage that he will do. Our team members, we're running Winter Vinera because she gives more HP and earth attack to earth units, so she's a really good fit for Dorando. And then she's also someone who can take aggro and make sure that the enemies don't reach him because he's not that tanky. So in our first setup, where she's there, where we're using Dorando as a gunner, we actually have Pugilistic Mastery turned off so that Winter Vinera moves forward quickly. The buffs that she'll prioritize is Iron Body Stance, which makes her tankier. And that's great because she's there to remain in front of the enemy for a while. We're using her in the Ninja subjob because we're avoiding magic teams. Dorando is really weak against them, and so is Kilphe, our other character. So we're running her with Ninja so that against enemies with high resistances, she can use Doton, which is a really interesting attack. So we'll get to showcase that a little bit as well. She has pretty decent attack, almost 1000, and then 5.5k HP, so she's overall pretty tanky. Here are her stats. Do notice that she has negative missile resistance, but really good slash resist with what we're running on her. In terms of gear, the Kaiser Fist, which are really good. The Elf Cloak for some pierce resistance. That way she's neutral against piercing, which will be important because we'll be running against some Kains. And then we're running Bells on her because it's a great, great tool for our primary damage dealer to have. Shadowrunner for more agility and luck, and then Warrior Spirit for more HP and attack. We're just trying to stack as many stats as we can on her. And then one thing that we'll do when we switch to Monk Dorando is we will turn Pugilistic Mastery on. That way her AI, instead of doing Revitalize, then Iron Body Stance, will do Pugilistic Mastery on her and Dorando, and then on her second turn use Revitalize, and then we probably won't have the chance to use a third buff. So that's the two different things that we'll be doing here. She's also running Golem for some extra defense and Menkiller, and then Duane's VC, which I would probably replace for Ifrit if I had it, but as it stands, it's my best way to have attack up on my team, and the extra magic resistance might come in handy. We'll see. Our final member is Kilphe. She's there to take aggro from Winter Vinera after a short while using her Spellblade job, and also because she's an earth unit, she's going to deal a different type of damage from the other guys, so she's able to take out different targets, and she's also very tanky. So the two other earth units, even if they don't generate hate because they use other moves, will be enough of a front line to protect Dorando until he gets a couple hits off. So that's what Kilphe does. She has not that much defense, but she has anti-barrier and her physical barrier as well. So she's pretty tanky thanks to those. Here are her stats. If you ever want to do something like this, I want to point out that she has 30% slash resistance with the Solidus card that we are putting on here. I'll try to target slash teams, but I won't do only them because this is not a Solidus showcase. It's a Dorando showcase. So we're running Platinum Staff, Platinum Robe, and then Ayaka's TMR for a little bit more agility. And Diabolos also provides slash resistance, so we're kind of trying to stack that up a little bit. So this is it for Kilphe. Something that we could change for better performance would be switching Providence of Lightning for defense up, but just in case we run into mages, I prefer to do this because she will still be plenty tanky against physical attacks. So this is it. Let's go into combat and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so for our first match, we're fighting Agrias, Orlandeau, and Kain. And their team has a lot of offense. They will be an issue for our front line if we make the fight continue for too long. So what we want to see is Winter Vinera going up first, taking 1 or 2 hits and staying up. Then Kilphe using her taunting spell to take the aggro, making sure that Winter Vinera survives longer. And all the while, Dorando will be there in the back, providing ranged support, possibly immobilizing the enemy at a critical time, or just doing damage in general. And he can use Inherited Tyranny, so he actually has 50% defense penetration. So he's probably going to be doing a surprising amount of damage on top of his other offense. So here we go, Kilphe takes a hit and barely takes any damage because that is what Kilphe does, and then she takes a nice chunk of HP off of the enemy Agrias. She did not take aggro, however, so that might come and bite us back. And then Dorando hits Agrias for 2.2k. Yeah, that's a lot. He's Dorando, right? That might seem surprising, but he can actually hit pretty hard with defense penetration against units that rely on defense to stay alive. That, however, was a good hit from our enemy Kain, and it might put us at in trouble for the rest of the fight, because now everybody's slowed, but Dorando's here to carry. Sidewinder misses. That's very unfortunate. I really wanted to see the damage he could do here. And now, Winter Vinera reduces Kain's defense against Earth, so all our subsequent attacks are going to be stronger because everyone on our team is Earth type. So Dorando moves in and finishes him off. Oh no, Courage. So he procs Courage so that Kilphe can finish her off. So in this match, Dorando did pretty decent damage against the enemy Agrias. And then, unfortunately, he missed an attack, so we could not see his follow-up damage on Kain. But I'm still pretty happy with his performance. Alright, and for this match, we're fighting Warrior of Light, an opposite Winter Vinera, and Frederica. And in their team, the main carry is Frederica, and that's not that scary. Even though Dorando has missile weakness, and Winter Vinera as well, they're still she's a lightning unit, and we are all Earth, so we have that going for us. So that means the other damaged threat would be Winter Vinera, and I feel like we can handle her damage for a while. So it's mainly a question of how quickly can we kill their Warrior of Light and start hitting the other guys. So as per usual, our team begins using Revitalize, then Shield of Stave, and then Inherited Tyranny. And with Inherited Tyranny, we should be able to hit Warrior of Light for decent damage. Now, I'm not a fan of Frederica using Double Shot, because that means that most of Kilphe's barrier is already out, but she has Taunting Spell this time, and that's great because nobody else is going to be taking hits for a while. Now, I dislike the fact that she got stopped. That's definitely unfortunate. And then Dorando cannot attack because he would be hitting his Kilphe, so he instead increases the critical strike chance for everybody on our team, and that's fine. Even though Vinera, for some reason, does not land a crit even with that more than 40% chance buff. So at that point, we're just getting chained because Kilphe got a very unlucky stop on her, and that will probably lead to our demise. So Dorando moves forward, 1000 damage with his leg shot, and at that point, he's taking a couple hits. He's taking them surprisingly well, but he also gets stopped. And that's incredible because he doesn't have a high fate. Their Warrior of Light was definitely incredibly lucky, and I think if we were to run that fight again, we might have a shot at winning. They're just lending every single one of their disables. And keep that in mind if you're fighting teams with disables. There's always some chance that you're gonna get completely screwed over by RNG. I generally like to avoid teams that are built around these kind of status effects because of this possibility that my win streak will just get interrupted for no reason that I can control. So here we go, we lose. Not so much due to our fault though, so let's find another match. Okay, so we're back with an interesting enemy team here. They're all pretty tanky, Duane, Agrias, and Kain. And looking at them, I'd say it's a really dominant team, and their Agrias is the one on their team that scares me the most, because if she lands a confusion on our Kilphe and Dorando, who are going to line up, things will not look great for us. And then since she's using Revitalize, that means that she will definitely have enough AP to use that whenever she comes in range. So it is really what scares me the most. And then Duane has Defense Penetration, which is also a dangerous thing. So as I said, we're now lined up, Agrias can come in, but fortunately for us, Duane kind of moved in front of her, preventing her from reaching us on that turn. And now we might just be in range for a taunting blade instead, which would be perfect because it would mean that she's not confusing anyone on our team. Let's see what she chooses to do. So we've took out most of Duane's HP at that point, and our Kilphe frontline is doing pretty well. Now, Dorando can't line up a shot, so he just uses Council, which is still a really nice buff. If we were using gunners, I would instead turn off Council, so he uses aimed fire, but on our team, Council is actually the best option. So Kilphe eventually goes down after taking quite a few hits, and now they're moving on to the rest of our team. Now, the enemy team is much faster than ours, so they are taking many more turns than we are, but now Dorando's finally free to attack. Sidewinder hits both of them for a somewhat decent amount of damage, not as much as we've seen in the first match, but still, he did something. And at that point, it's Kain versus Vinera, and we have the advantage of having a ton of AP. So depending on how much damage she can do, we might be fine. The thing that puts us in trouble though is Courage. So it's going to take at least 2 more hits for us to take him out. There we go. So they end up winning. I would say our team performed pretty well, but in this fight, Dorando was lackluster. His damage wasn't as high as we would have needed it to be. Okay, so here we are, and we made some changes. We're now a new and upgraded Monk team. Let's see how it goes. The one thing I dislike about the enemy team is that they are ranged, and we'll have some trouble getting to them because we're not a fast team that moves forward a lot. But their damage should be pretty lackluster on us, so we still have a shot at just out-tanking them until they get in our range. So in this setup, the first thing we do is use Pugilistic Mastery to get our strike attack up, and that will allow us to do some pretty serious damage to them. Then Dorando again uses Inherited Tyranny, so he's ready with extra strike attack and defense penetration. He's going to be hitting pretty hard if he gets to the enemy team. Sid uses Crush Armor to no big avail, so I'm perfectly fine with that. And then Sid takes a pretty good chunk of damage. Now, Dorando keeps buffing himself, and he's in a position to... he's at his maximum damage output here. He has everything he can in terms of damage built up. Now, their Winter Viktora uses Split Shot, and she has a pretty low attack. She's built in a similar way to how I build mine, if you've seen that video. So she's very tanky, but in their case, they are using Leonis Castle vision cards, so she's even tankier, but her damage really suffers from it. So she does not get to hit us pretty hard. Now, Winter Viktora with Pugilistic Mastery actually hits harder, and he's able to one-punch some enemies, which is what we see here. And then Dorando comes in. He has his monk job, and he Surge Strikes her for 2.4k. And just to give you some thing here, she was built with over almost 60 defense. So that was actually a pretty decent hit, because she's a tank in all ways in their team comp. So that was it. We saw Dorando do some surprising amount of damage against the tankier units, but he never really got a chance to hit the squishier units because he was so slow compared to the rest of our team that they would just die before he gets the chance to act. But honestly, did he pull his weight? Yeah, he was fine. Sometimes you bring in bonus units and they kind of never contribute to anything, but in his case, he's able to stay in a safe zone and not lose much HP, so he won't lose any arena points, and then when he needs to, he just comes in with his Sidewinder and hits several targets at once, or can possibly land a good disable. So that was it from me today. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It will make it more likely that you see this kind of content in the future. And then, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.